I think
I'm
our
guessing.
video just somehow our video did not play. Wow, we are having technical difficulties today. Let's try this one more time.
Hey guys, welcome to another East Coast Rams podcast. It is our preseason too, as having to work through the tech stuff. How are you doing, Zach? How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm really annoyed that our intro was the old intro, and it wasn't prepped for when we hit live. Oh well, we'll see how it goes. Well, everyone, welcome to East Coast Rams podcast. Ashton, how are you doing, my friend?
Besides the hurricane coming down and just causing a lot of havoc up here and along the coast, praying for everyone in the path of that too. Besides that, Zach, just really busy at work, but man, this year we really needed some good, entertaining preseason games. Something I never thought I would ever say as a Rams fan, because our preseason games are historically very challenging to watch. But Zach, we not only got one watchable preseason game this year, we've gotten two.
Oh man, and it got down to the wire, and it was so exciting, a thrilling ending, and I cannot wait to dive into it. But we got some news to talk about, and you were talking about hurricanes, and how it's going to be wearing down the storm. But you know what a hurricane can't stop? Matthew Stafford. All right, let's talk about Matthew Stafford real quick. So he's back. He's back at practice this weekend. I feel like was a hurricane of a going back to hurricanes. What?
Oh, I thought you did the back at practice on purpose. I was like, I'm giving you credit.
His back is at practice as well. But yeah, I mean, it was a hurricane of a weekend. I mean, everything from Saturday when the Rams declined to comment on whether Stafford participated in practice on Saturday, just went through a whirlwind through Twitter and through X or whatever you want to call it these days. Just a whirlwind. Everyone freaking out, saying that Stafford's going on IR. He's done. He's going to be retired. Call Kirk Cousins. We need to find some replacements. Fire Jimmy G. Stetson Bennett's our guy. In him we trust. The miracle man, the comeback kid. The new Matthew Stafford and Stetson Bennett. But no, come to find out today that Stafford not only showed up, but he did participate in full practice, slinging the ball. It seemed like watching the videos, he seems good. He was moving he wasn't just standing in the pocket. He was moving out of the pocket and made some really good throws. And you could definitely tell that Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua were really glad to see him back, getting some reps in before week 1 with the Texans.
Yeah, a little less hospital balls from Stafford. Happy to see him out there. Man, I don't know who runs the team's PR, but they need to hire someone if they don't have someone, because it feels like this was just not very well thought through. I know some of that has to deal with you can only go so far into people's health and what you can reveal about it and talk about it. But overall, I mean, McVay said it. It's going to be day to day. And I think it's very clear. This is going to be something that's going to last for at least the first half of the season that we're going to have to keep an eye on. And I'm not going to lie, Zach, every time Stafford even gets remotely looked at by a defender, I'm going to be slightly worried, let alone when he gets sacked. That's going to be very nerve-wracking for me this year to see, because he is, wrap him up in bubble wrap. I've seen what I need to. Just keep him till week 1. That way we can have this offense kind of off and going. But like you said, excited to see him out at practice.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a good sign. It definitely, this weekend, honestly, I think it was one of his kids' birthdays. So maybe, with the preseason game, he wasn't going to play in anyways. He just kind of said, hey, let me go rest up and let me go be with my kid for her birthday. Maybe that was the case. We won't know. Again, the Rams are very hush hush about it. I do think that this was a very fluid situation. I think I mentioned in the last previous podcasts that I don't think Sean McVay actually 100% knew what was happening. I think because this was a back soreness issue, they truly thought it was going to be next week. They really thought that he was going to be able to practice the next day or whatever they said at the time. But back injuries are complicated. I mean, you could just sleep the wrong way and your back is tweaked. And, as someone who's not a professional athlete, it happens. It happens one of those days and you don't know what you did to it. You just tweaked it. So it's just good to have him back. I think it brings more morale to the fan base. I feel like the fan base was kind of in shambles, even though we had a fantastic, fun preseason game, which we all rallied behind. Losing QB1, who after you just sign him and just saying he's already going to IR after you just gave him a big contract, I feel like people were just being a little bit ingenuous about it. And Matthew Stafford is a human being. I don't think he was just getting it for the money. And then all of a sudden he's like, oh, my back, I can't play anymore. I think that, it was poor timing, but I think the Rams did themselves right. They kept him out when they needed to. Stafford's been in this for 17 seasons. Yes, he needs to get some reps in with Puka and Devontae and things like that, but Stafford can get in and he can sling it to anybody any given day. I mean, just remember him coming in, playing so many seasons for the Lions, and then jumping in one off season and making a push to the Super Bowl. So Stafford is able to kind of come in, one of those rare players who I think can come into a system and really learn the playbook and learn how to, just play with the players that you got on the field. So I'm ecstatic to have him back, and hopefully he can stay healthy the remainder of this season and into the playoffs.
Yeah, I definitely think the fan base could probably get a little bit more healthier when having these types of conversations. I'm all for having fun with the topic and stuff like that. I do feel like some people are taking, especially now, kind of going after people because they're kind of being realistic with the injury. Or, I'm sure it happened on the other side. And I just feel like these are very serious conversations about someone's health, and you can have fun with it, but let's try to be respectful about it, going back and forth, at least to each other, right? So
I mean, and like I said, this could have taken it could have gone further down and he could have had severe back issues that would have taken him out. We're glad that he doesn't have that, or it doesn't seem to be that way. Matthew Stafford's tough. If he can play, he's going to play no matter what. He's going to have to be on a stretcher leaving before he won't play.
It could still affect his play too. We don't know that in live NFL reps. It could affect his play to a point where he can't play while he's dealing with this. We don't know. That's where you just trust the team. Hopefully makes the right decision. See how he practices. See how he's doing, and hopefully he plays. Guys, I want Stafford to play. He's our best chance, not only to win, but win a Lombardi again. And I'm so thankful he came back. I did not want to watch Aaron Rodgers on this team at all. And Stafford is the best kind of route for us right now win Super Bowl. So thrilled he's back. He looks like he's not in pain, but that could be the drugs. So hopefully it keeps on going smoothly.
You and drugs, Okay.
Whoa.
Anyways, all right. So let's talk about some other health news that is happening. We've got two other health reports to talk about. Let's talk about Terrance Ferguson. He is also back to practice after a groin injury. I still doubt that we will see him play in this preseason game, even if he's in full health. Maybe
he was fully padded playing at practice, so I actually think we probably will see him.
I think it depends on what McVay wants to do. It's one more preseason game. He is coming back from a small groin injury. They may want to play it safe with it just being preseason again, especially if you're really trying to make this into he's going to be the future of the Rams in the tight end spot. He may just keep it off one more day.
Hey, Peo. Hey, man, how you doing? Everyone, if you have not watched his YouTube content, really great content creator there. Love yourself, Peo. Yeah, horns up. Sorry, Zach. Just wanted to give a shout out.
No worries. So yeah, it's great to have him back because again, we're really hoping that Terrell Ferguson is going to be that future who's going to be able to take over the mantle from Tyler Higbee when that time comes. And I rather see him skip the first preseason game or this last preseason game to make sure that he's fully ready to go. Because again, this is a piece that we are missing, a really X factor tight end. And not saying Tyler Higbee is it, because I'm the biggest fan of Tyler Higbee, but beyond Tyler Higbee, there is nothing. There's not really anything there. You could say Davis Allen, you could say Parkinson, but really those guys are just filler spots waiting for our next tight end. And I think Terrell Ferguson can be that X factor in the tight end room.
Zach, Higbee is a nice Honda Civic. It ain't fancy. You don't have dreams of getting in a Honda Civic, but it gets you to where you need to go, right? It's dependable. Now, our boy Ferg, he could be a nice Bronco, really like a Bronco Sport Edition, really just exotic, can go over anything, get you to where you go in a nicer fashion. And that all be said, I hope this vision that the coaching staff has for Ferg can really come to be, and he's the heir apparent to Higbee, because Higbee is just all around, does everything right as a tight end, but he doesn't have explosiveness. Hopefully what he's showed a little bit at Oregon before he got hurt, that explosiveness, we can recapture that as a team and kind of use that, because we've kind of harped on it all offseason. Bottom 10 in the red zone last year. That's unacceptable for a McVay team, and we got to change that. And Devontae and Ferg are the two biggest pieces, I believe, that will help fix that, because we had more passing touchdowns than rushing last year. A lot of people don't realize that. Kyron was the main touchdown getter, but overall, it was kind of sprinkling of I would say 25 to 30-yard passing touchdowns. But outside of that, when we got near the goal line, we converted at a bottom 10 rate, and can't do that, right?
Definitely can't do that. Nope. So like I said, it's really great to see him back. We'll see how he participates in the next couple weeks. Again, we are unsure if he's going to be playing for Cleveland. If it was me, I would definitely say that I would hold him out. Ferg could be the Class B camper van. I'm really not sure how to take that.
Hey, I'll just be happy if he stays healthy and we can see growth. This tight end room last year was underwhelming. We were paying them more than Kelsey, and let's just say they were a bottom 5 unit in the NFL. And I just want to see more out of this unit. And I think we will. In fairness, with Higbee being healthy and Ferg, we'll definitely see a lot.
And then our last health update is our left tackle, Alaric Jackson. He has been dealing with the blood clot issue over the last several weeks. And so really, Stafford or McVay today said on his presser that he's doing great. He's on track, and he's truly think that it's a week at a time. He's in great shape, physically active. And so, no commitment that he's going to be ready for week 1, but basically said that he's going to be ready sooner rather than later, which is just a great sign. Obviously, he's had this health issue before, very tragic. Obviously, we are always players first, that their player health first. So we really hope that he can do it, that he could be able to get on the field. Because again, I think Alaric Jackson is one of those missing pieces that we were missing in the past. We have him now. We don't want to lose him for this offensive line that needs to protect Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, I think it's the same thing with Stafford. Like, we want them to play when they're healthy and they can play, because these guys are so critical to the chances of the Rams winning. And Alaric has just been a guy who's just improved and like shown he can be a really quality tackle in this league. And, you know, he kind of reminds me of Havenstein, where he's not flashy. He's not, you can say, elite at his talent level, but he's really good. He's like pushing into that margin, and his ability to not let up pressure in a lot of these games, it's very impressive for where he came from. So I know blood clots. One of my wife's friends has a blood condition, so I kind of know a little bit that these things are very, let's just say, random and sporadic when they come up, and you just have to be patient, and hopefully you can get back on the field. It's very unpredictable. So prayers out to Alaric, and hopefully we can see him on his new contract soon.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so as we're at the midway point, kind of, we're segmenting into our next segment about talking about the Chargers and the Rams preseason game. I do want to make sure that you guys are liking and subscribing this YouTube channel. Please go to YouTube. If you're watching on X, go to youtube.com/@EastCoastRams. Subscribe. If you're watching us, hit that subscribe button. It's just right there. Hit that subscribe button. Ring that bell for notifications so that you guys can always be notified when we go live, because this is a live podcast. You know, we had a little glitch in the intro in the intro video. It's going to happen. It's what makes things fun. And then also make sure you follow us on all the other social media platforms, but we'll get that to the very end. All right. Go ahead.
Real quick. Also, if you're watching us live, comment. We love your questions and feedback, and just being able to interact with y'all. It makes our jobs as hosts a lot easier, especially helps us like transition and do all these fancy podcasting techniques and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
Peo, I see your question in the comment. I just want to get to that. We're going to talk about that. So I'm going to hold your question. If you have more questions, keep putting them in there and we'll keep track of them. But I want to save that one just for a little bit. I want to put it a little aside a little bit, because we'll have some conversations about that specific question. All right. So let's talk about, what'd you say?
I was just going to say, are you going to wait to make his question secondary?
No, I'm going to save it. We're not going to talk about what's going to be discussed. We'll leave that as a teaser for just a little bit, just a teaser. Okay, tease that. Wait for that question, because it's coming. All right, so let's talk about this. So the Rams gets the Chargers. Rent was due this week, because the Rams did defeat the Chargers this weekend at SoFi Stadium. It was pretty exciting. It was pretty electric. 23-22. Rent was due, but it was on. Do you know their rent is only $1? They only have to pay the Rams $1 a year to the facility to be in SoFi. Isn't that crazy?
How can I get that?
Like, how can I rent out SoFi for $1? Probably not. But it was pretty electric. Again, like when you look at this team, you have to remember that, you know, the Rams don't play with any starters at all. You know, you're looking at second string, third string, you know, rookies, undrafted free agents, just mostly a lot of times, mostly third, and mostly they're just people to fill the preseason game that probably aren't even guaranteed a spot, even if they outperformed what they were thinking. But then when you look at it on the other side, they do play with their starters. The Chargers did come out with some of their starters playing. And so when you kind of compare apples to apples, it's really hard. But the Rams have played really well against, you know, these starting players, even against the Chargers, you know, going against Herbert for the first drive, was it?
Started his first drive on both sides.
it's impressive. Again, yes, did they score a touchdown? Sure. But it was still impressive just to see kind of that battle that happened. Oh, wait, they didn't score a touchdown. It was only a field goal. Sorry.
Yeah.
It was just a field goal when Herbert was on the field. So, yeah, I thought that was great. I think the defense
and they
is playing
scored.
well.
Bennett scored touchdown on starting defense of the Chargers.
Yeah.
So I think you made a great point. Like when you look at this team in the last two preseason games, it's high-level execution, which we have not seen in the preseason from a lot of our depth guys for a good amount of time. And this year, it just feels like they're coming out with such like energy and high, not only high execution, but just high capability of playmaking. It's just impressive. And you see it from guys that normally are practice squad guys. I would say like you have some guys where you see sparks, but you don't necessarily think that they're a long-term option for the full roster, right?
Yeah.
Zach, there's a lot of these guys where I'm like, I think we're going to have a lot of guys picked over.
Exactly. I agree. I think it's one of those really, it's going to come down to the wire on some of these people. And you're like, I don't want them to leave. I don't want them to go to play on another team, especially if they get picked up on an in-division rivalry. Definitely don't want that. So I am just impressed both on the offensive side and the defensive side of the ball when we're playing with second and thirds, and it's just amazing to see. And again, it's making preseason kind of fun again. When we're just kind of like, yeah, whatever, starters don't play, so what's the point? They're still making it electric. They're still trying to scheme up new things. Bennett's out there looking better than he's ever had before. You're seeing playmakers on all sides of the ball, whether it's in the running back room, whether it's in the wide receiver room, all kinds of things. So I am going to bring up this question before I get to Peo's original question. Is it crazy to think that the offense can average 30 plus points a game this season? After what we saw today without the starters playing, I don't think it's crazy. I think that we could see something where we're looking at 30-point average throughout the season.
Yeah, Zach. It's one of those things where, of course, you got to put the caveat of health, but Stafford has never had in his career, even with the Lions, two elite receivers in their primes at the same time. You look at 21, the closest we've gotten with him on the Rams was OBJ and Kupp in 21 for those 6-7-ish games. But OBJ was still not elite at that time. I would say he was like very good coming down out of his prime. But like the whole time Puka's been here, Kupp has either been hurt or not fully himself. So this year, having a prime Devontae, he'll probably be at the tail end of his career, but he's still going to be really good, and he's proven that in camp. And then Puka is Puka. He's nuts. The rest of the depth on this roster, like Tutu, he could have more growth. Even if he's at the exact same he was last year, that's a really good number 3. I think Whittington is very underrated right now in the NFL because he's been behind a lot of guys to start his career.
Sure.
But he was taking snaps for Puka and being impressive at camp. And then on top of that, like you have X as your 6th wide receiver, and then some of these depth guys. Our wide receiver core should be very much improved. Our tight end, we already went over that a little bit. Tight end core should be better. The O-line, if we can not have an O-line with like in the 30s of rotation counts, we should be a lot better. This team, we saw sparks of it last year, and we have seen sparks of it since the Super Bowl season. I think they can put it all together on offense. And with this defense, and we'll talk about them in a second, All we need, to be honest, Zach, we don't need top 10 offense. We just need 15th. We need average at everything. And I feel like this team will be contender. But to answer Peyo's question, I think we're going to be top 10 very well. I think both sides of this team, both sides of the ball will be top 10.
I mean, I told you last week, if the defense can hold teams to under 20 points, I think we are more. I think we have more like the 70% chance of winning the game. If we can score 30 points, it's the same thing. I think we're in that upper tier of, keeping up with the Joneses, because I think it's going to be super. I mean, I always hate, knock on wood, whatever. I always hate to say it because, things can happen, but I don't see teams going 30 points against us unless something drastic happens. But I do feel like we have something different. Like you said, our wide receiver room is probably the best as a whole as it's ever been. Our running back room is probably the best it has ever been as a whole under Sean McVay.
Yeah.
You look at our tight ends, you look at everybody is just so it is probably the best under Sean McVay as an offensive core that we have had. And it's going to be ecstatic to watch, I think.
Yeah, definitely not as top heavy as other rosters have been, more balanced throughout. And guys, people don't realize Sean McVay is such a good play caller. All of our plays and all of our drives last year, we only had one script we could really go off of because we were so bad at explosives. It was dink and dunk down the field, going 8 to 12 plays most time, Zach. 8, 12, 15 plays. That was the only way we could go down, and then even then we would struggle in the red zone. But that was the only way we could move. This upcoming year, if we score quick and fast on people, we have 3 running backs that can just the entire game shove it down their mouths and just completely grind out for the rest of the game. You need a quick explosive, go to X, go to 2-2. It's going to be so varied, and because teams can't do exactly the same vanilla stuff they were doing to us last year to be able to kind of disrupt us. Not to mention, the O-line being such a mess last year made things even more complicated in that. And, you add all those things together, this offense can be more dynamic, different ways to win. It's going to make everyone's job easier than last year. Hopefully.
Yeah, for sure. Let's talk about the Chargers game real quick before we flip to the defensive side and talk about about this preseason game. Let's talk about Stetson Bennett. 40 attempts, 28 completions, really nice looking there, 70+%, 324 yards, 3 touchdowns. The Chargers had 3 quarterbacks. How many passing touchdowns do you think they had? Well, you watched it, so you probably know.
I believe they only had 1 rushing touchdown. Or sorry,
rushing, yes, but 0 passing.
Yeah.
0 passing touchdowns. So again, and that was, again, you had, Herbert in there for just a short period of time. I know it wasn't for a full game, but you had people like Trey Lance who looked actually really good up until that last drive. I thought he was going to run the show after when he came in, ended up faltering more, I think, of game management really in that last drive that they had, where they didn't let us blow our 2 final timeouts. They went 2 pass plays.
They went for the win. I mean, I get it. It's preseason, even though it kind of doesn't make sense because they were throwing exotic blitzes in the preseason at Stetson Bennett, which is why he threw a pick. So,
Sure. And that was an ugly pick. I mean, you never want, a 300+ pound lineman to hit an interception. But I just think, I don't know. It's weird. I thought again, when you're trying to learn game management and you're trying to help a quarterback learn that game management, you are already winning at that point. You were just trying to burn 2 timeouts and get the clock down to like nothing compared to still not eating up as much clock as you should have, and then giving the other team 2 timeouts. I get it if they weren't in the lead, but they were in the lead. So I thought that was kind of, again, just kind of poor management. And I feel like they were getting close to field goal range. I might be wrong, but anyways, got the point.
They were like at their 41 yard line, so not close enough for a field goal. But either way, I mean, that was their choice. They made it. And then who gets up from making that mistake? And again, guys, sometimes quarterbacks have to throw into windows where they're not looking at where they're throwing. They're just throwing in anticipation. He misread the coverage. Now, whether you blame that on not expecting the right thing at that point in time, not being prepped, or irregardless, it was a bad 2 snaps because he threw a pick the play before too. But he rebounded. Like, this is the thing that really makes you an NFL quarterback versus not. The guys who can't rebound. It's one of the reasons that Goff struggled early on in his career. When he made a mistake, you just knew he would be happy feet for the rest of the game, and he would struggle to like trust himself for the rest of that game.
Yeah.
Stafford, we know he makes a mistake, he drops it in trash can, moves on next play. Bennett, he did that. He made 2 ridiculous throws that, like, Zach, what can we say? He looks like a completely different person replaced him. And those are some high-level NFL throws. There's a reason why he is up on top of the leaderboard for preseason quarterbacks, not being talked about by media, by the way. And let's point out, all these people like congratulating the Bears, saying they're doing so good, they're blowing out people in the preseason, they're preseason warriors. So, of course, they have to talk about the Bears that way. Ben Johnson has them rolling. Rams have one less yard than the Bears, and not a single starter, mostly third stringers. I'm so impressed and proud of this team, the way they have just come out and kind of, throwing hands, and that comeback, it shows grit. And it was not only Bennett, it was the wide receivers too.
Yeah, 100%. And it was, you kind of look at that last drive, and really, like, it was kind of shocking to me how well or how much Bennett kind of felt like a mini Stafford at the time. I mean, especially taking the ball with, just over a minute left, and taking it all the way down, doing what was it, 1 or 2 4th down conversions to keep the ball rolling,
2,
and taking it all the way down to the end zone and scoring that touchdown with, 7 seconds left on the clock. Like, that is being down 5, like that was a Matthew Stafford comeback style play if I ever saw one.
Yeah, and it's not exactly like he's throwing to Lad McConkey against a 3rd, 4th stringer who's wide open. You don't have to thread the needle. It's just like pitch and catch type deal. No, he's throwing to guys who they got open, but it's like NFL open. It's a very small windows, having to throw it high, great ball placement, just making it where only your guy can go up and get it. And they went up and got it. And that Presley catch was very impressive. And then the touchdown throw, it's small window, but perfectly placed.
It was great. It was really great. Like I said,
yeah,
it's just, it gets us excited more and more for football. And with all of the news that was happening with Stafford, will he, won't he play, whatever, it felt very comforting that we had backup quarterbacks who seemed very competent, that they could continue to play at a higher level, even if Stafford wasn't there. So again, I'm very confident in this team, from all aspects, especially from the offensive side of the ball. Okay, you want to talk about defensive side of the ball?
Yeah, I mean, up and down performance by defense overall. They had good moments, and then they had some bad moments. especially the DBs. I would say the safeties had a lot of really good quality play. Pretty good. It was one of those weird things. The pass rush, outside of a few moments, wasn't kind of what we've been used to,
Sure.
especially last game. Pass rush struggled a little bit. The run defense did look, I would say, pretty good.
Held them to 83 yards total.
Yeah,
Not bad.
decent pass rush, not bad, especially given how much they were trying. So let's talk about the safeties. Engel, man, woo, woo, that was a almost Nick Scott esque, almost
Yeah.
very smart play, very hard hitting. Just flying around the entire game. What's your thoughts on Engel and his play from the game?
Again, I agree with you. I think he's playing smart. He's playing physical. He's able to read the ball really well. I just don't know if he's going to make the cut. I mean, again, it's going to come down to the wire on this whole, from the safeties and the DBs, and he's going to be on that fine line of will he, won't he? You kind of look at what they currently have with Kim Curl, Quentin Lake, and Cameron Kitchens. I think those are three really good safeties that you have. Then you have to think of who else you keep, and it's probably McLeod.
McCullough, yeah.
Oh, McCullough, yeah. And then I don't know if you can keep another one. Especially when you're starting, then you have to also look at your DB depth and stuff like that too. I like what I saw.
I do not envy this coaching staff. Like historically, Zach, me and you've been able to look at the 53 and like outside of maybe one or two people would be like, it's pretty easy, pretty set. Yeah. This year, Zach, I have no clue how they're going to put together this roster and try to keep some of these guys on the practice squad because like AJ Green was flying around. He had a few really good plays.
And he's probably going to be on the chopping block. I mean,
yeah. Desjuan Johnson, I would like to see a snap count, but Desjuan Johnson, when he was in, he was pretty explosive. Of course, like some of these guys can't play every snap. Cam Lampkin, he didn't. I would say he had really good coverage this game. He was just playing against really good wide receivers, especially the first and second string of the Chargers. Lambert Smith is someone that I really loved in the draft. Very well, like very good wide receiver. He just had a crazy catch. We can debate whether it was fully complete or not. It's still a really good route, really good throw, and really well done by him. But anyone else jump out to you? Zach, Paul got hurt, so he wasn't able to finish the game.
That was not the question I was meaning to bring up. I was going to bring up the one that I said early. As what are your thoughts on the secondary from Peo from earlier? Yeah, I think the secondary. Yeah, overall, overall, the whole Rams. I think that the Rams are going to have a problem of who they want to keep. Obviously, you look at you have Darius Williams, you have Witherspoon, you have Kobe Durant, you have Emmanuel Forbes. Those are your great ones who are going to be your starters, your rotating starters and things like that. But really you have an opportunity for one at max two. And I've seen a lot of good things from a lot of good players. I mean, Darian Kendrick is trying to keep a spot on this roster. Don't think he quite has done that yet. AJ Green, I have actually really enjoyed seeing him when he's on the field. I think he's one of those ones that is more of the underrated type. But I think he also is on the chopping block for not being able to stick around. Josh Wallace, I think he's been pretty impressive as well. And so, it's going to be that debate on who you want to keep. And there's so much talent. I do not envy the coaches in this position. When you have elite preseason games, it's really hard to pick out the best.
Oh, what about the energetic man himself? Probably one of the best mic'd ups I've seen in a good amount. Sean Dolac, he had probably one of the most impressive stat lines from defense. 3 tackles, 3 assists. We got to find a roster spot for this guy. There's no way a certain linebacker on the team can keep on getting away with the robbery, Zach, when we got this guy, just a stud on the roster. He's everywhere. He wraps up perfectly. We haven't really seen him in coverage against starter wide receivers, so I would like to see that, or like against tight ends. So potentially he could have a hole in his game there, but he's been impressive in preseason from what we can see.
Yeah. I'm going to keep repeating the same horn. It's like, I agree with you. I don't know if Reader should not be the guy. Rams seem to love him. He hasn't played preseason, which means it's a good sign that he probably makes the 53. So the odd man out, unfortunately, is Dolac. And so, hopefully he gets to the practice squad and he's able to, stay on that, and we can pull him when the Rams maybe wake up and feel like Reader's not the actual guy. Which is also interesting because he also, I believe he was the one wearing the green dot this week.
Yeah.
So I think he was calling the plays for the defense. So interesting to see how that will play out. I feel like that giving it to him is a good sign. But at the same time, again, when you have Nate Landman, you have Omar Sparks, you have Troy Reader, and you have Chris Paul Jr., I don't know where you go from here with Dolac.
Yeah. I mean, is it given that Dolac doesn't earn a spot over Chris Paul? I mean, he's been hurt most of the camp, right? I know fans want to instantly assume, but like the coaching staff is only seeing one of them play a lot of these snaps. I like Chris Paul. I don't think they could cut him and not get him like claimed. That's where I always wonder, maybe they're gonna cut Reader anyways and just pick him up on the, like, I don't think Reader will get claimed. I definitely think Dolac will.
It's gonna be tough.
Yeah.
So,
that you want to go through some questions? More questions?
More questions from Peo.
Yeah. You talked about the man, the myth, the legend, the landman earlier. What's your favorite offseason pickup, Zach, so far, including draft capital?
Well, I mean, I think of course it's going to have to be Davante Adams. I think that was the smartest move, especially when you're moving away from Cooper Kupp. You wanted someone with a little bit more explosiveness, a different set of skills than what you have in a young Puka Nacua. Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, we've said this in the past, they're very similar in the route running. Puka Nacua learned a lot, if not everything, in the NFL pro style of playing from Cooper Kupp and how he runs routes and things like that. I think, again, having Davante Adams adds a different layer to this offense that I think really put them on this trajectory of taking this all the way to the Lombardi at the end. And then they started to form around that ecosystem of, all right, so we have Stafford, we have Davante Adams, we have Puka Nacua. Now let's form everything around that, which even means extending Kyren Williams, to bringing in all these players from draft and things like that. They were all planned around Stafford, Puka, Davante. And so that's probably my most favorite move that they've made this offseason. I know it's cliche, but it is my favorite.
Yeah, I'll go with a different direction, and I'll say Josiah Stewart. I love the idea of this front office doubling down on the true strength of this team going forward, being a D line that front offices just had nightmares about. A D line where you can't just, going against AD, you hear like Jason Kelsey talk about, we doubled and triple team them, and we just stayed up all night, like making sure we planned for just AD. I want defensive front, Zach, that they know they can't double team and triple team one player because each one of these players can wreck your game at any given time. And I feel like they are building that. I think Josiah Stewart is an underrated addition. He was an underrated player, a second round, late first round talent that fell just because of his size. And haven't we heard that before? A player falling because of their size.
Yep.
The Rams know they got an explosive pass rusher and someone that I feel like he's Leonard Floyd built, but slightly smaller and a little bit more explosive, and he can get leverage. I just really love the idea of adding him. And that's why I want to add, like, I would be for adding another pass rusher to this D front, even if it means giving up picks. But that's a different conversation for a future day. But definitely Josiah Stewart. I think he's going to shock some people with how good he is.
From the defensive side, I would say Poona Ford. One of the things that the Rams, again, were trying to fix on the defensive side of the ball, their pass rush was getting there especially towards the very end, being that elite status. But what caused us trouble was our run defense, not being able to stop the ball, allowing certain teams to get plus 100 yards against us. And so bringing in Poona Ford, again, really turns up that dial, saying, like, we are all in. We are going to fix our mistakes. We know that we are elite on these areas. We need to figure out how we can be elite. And the one area that they really needed to fix was the run stop. If you could put enough pressure so that a quarterback can't throw the ball, and you could put enough pressure that they can't run the ball because you're bottling them up, that's a good recipe for success for your defense. And Poona Ford was that Devontae Adams key piece that I think that they needed to shore up, being that effective run defense.
Yeah, and Emmanuel Forbes taking a step, and this DB core just being slightly better helps also with a lot of that, because it means we can stack the box. They know they can't just chuck it down the field and get easy completions. And that's where you can kind of see a very good vision of this team going forward, Zach, where this defense can be surprisingly elite, that people didn't expect, just because some of our corners are a little bit older, but driven by that ferocious elite pass offense, or I would say rushing the quarterback.
Awesome.
Yeah. Are you guys going to any Rams games this year? Maybe the Ravens. Zach, I know you are going to one. Are there any other ones? What one are you going to?
Yeah, so right now I am definitely going to the week 2 against the Tennessee Titans. I will be flying down to Nashville. Going to be great. I wish I had what I will find it while you might talk about what game you are going to. But there is going to be a meetup. So I'll talk about that. I'll mention it a couple times throughout the next couple weeks. Before I tell you what my second game may be, what game are you thinking about going to?
I'm 90% sure I'll be able to go to the game at the Panthers. So that game I will definitely should be able to go to, as long as scheduling works up completely out. I don't think scheduling wise the Ravens will work for me. I wanted to go and I planned on it. It just, something else came up. So unfortunately the Ravens game won't be completely doable for me. I'm trying to think what else. Atlanta is a possibility, maybe near the end of the year. That just depends how. I think that's after Christmas too, how Christmas goes and where I am. Because I live in Virginia, so going to Atlanta would be like a 10-hour drive.
I do plan on going to Carolina. That is my current plan. Driving. My dad is also going to come with me, which he's a Bengals fan, so I'm going to make him wear his Bengals Rams Super Bowl shirt to that one. Maybe my grandpa too. We'll see. It might be a whole Mayer family adventure that will partake, because my family lives in the northern part of South Carolina, just 20 minutes from the stadium. So it'll be pretty cool. Here it goes. Okay, finally found it. So for those who are going to Nashville, there is going to be the LA Rams on the road Nashville Invasion meet up on Saturday, September 13th. I will have more details as that comes up about where, but it's, Mob Squad's going to be there, Rams Republic, World Tour Rams. Obviously, I'll be there, so East Coast Rams will be on there too. Got to figure out how to get my our logo on their banner. But yeah, so should be fun. More details to come.
Yeah, and I think we might end up trying to plan get together for people to come if we both go to Carolina, which I think will probably get solidified here in a few weeks. Carolina's what, week 13? It's second half of the season, right?
It is. It is the Sunday after Thanksgiving. So
fun.
Yes. So I would be driving down probably the Friday after Thanksgiving coming. Yeah. So be fun.
Yeah, I'll be driving back from South Carolina, so it kind of works perfectly there because my in-laws live in South Carolina, so I drive down there for drill and for Thanksgiving and Christmas. Got to get that Ram swag from Christmas,
Yep. If anybody else wants to drop questions, you could do so at our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@EastCoastRams. If you also comment on the X post video, if you're watching this live on X, you can also comment there too. And we will also answer your questions there. It's been a lot of fun on this episode. We've already talked about Stafford. We've already talked about the, Stetson Bennett's comeback kid escapades. I think this has been a really true, fun, well-rounded episode.
Yeah, man. It preseason sucks and is good because you get that taste, you get that nibble of football, and you feel satisfied. But then you realize it's not the real thing. It's not watching the Rams in meaningful games where they can have those amazing comeback wins, or they can break our hearts and we need a therapy session altogether because Zach goes to Bengals versus Rams game and they just completely destroy us. And we have to talk about it.
They forget how to run the ball. Don't get me started. Bad feelings.
Yeah. Or we have a crazy win against 49ers where half the team's injured and I thought we were going to lose the game the entire time, and we pull it through.
Oh, you know what I do want to ask you? I'm going to ask you a question because you are our fantasy guy on the podcast. You are our chief fantasy officer for the East Coast Rams podcast.
Yeah,
I love the Rams players. Who would you pick in round one of the Rams? Would you pick anyone round one from the Rams team?
Well, I mean, if you're talking about overall fantasy drafts, of course, Puka. I'm a Puka stan, guys. Even hurt, he had a really good fantasy year. Now, not a round one type dude, but this year, as long as stays healthy, I think even if Jimmy G is in, I think he would produce. It wouldn't be at the same level, but Puka's he's elite separator. His catches are nuts. He's definitely a round one guy that I would pick up. I would not take Kyron in round one though.
Okay.
Just
round one. Would you pick him up in two? Would you pick him up two? Or would you pick him? Let's say there are some people who fantasize that you should get, you can get the double, the RB1 and the RB2. Would you pick them up as an RB2? Second
Oh,
rounder?
definitely. Your later half, I would say if you're in a redraft league, I like Kyron in the middle of the second round. If you're talking about dynasty, I would say second half or the latter half of the second round. So if you're talking about longer term league, I like him a little bit later if you can get him. Most people are taking him early second, if not late first, depending on the league you're on or league you're in and how many people are in it. Uh, Kyron is one of those people who could be likely for touchdown regression. Has nothing to do with his talent. It's just if you're talking about statistically and analytically, the chances he has as many touchdowns or as many touches total in a single year, it's more likely he has less, especially when we have a loaded backfield. If you're not even talking about if we go into a committee role, which there is a chance that we could end up in a committee. Not high under McVay, but if you're talking about Hunter, if he takes, let's say, 7 carries versus like last year, Zach, how many carries per game do you think our third running back was getting?
Maybe one, if not any. Like it wasn't any.
Yeah, one. So you're just talking about people eating into his work share right there. And so, like, I think Kyron could have some regression fantasy point wise, and you just have to kind of read into that long term. So, yeah, Kyron's still a good running back to have in fantasy, but I think it's going to be less viable. I think Hunter is a good stash, especially in Dynasty, because Hunter could be someone where if the Rams ever go to like a 1-2 punch, he could definitely be that yin to the yang of Kyron, and both could be valuable.
Yeah. What about Devontae Adams? Where do you see him coming in for the Rams in a fantasy? Again, I'm just throwing out Rams players for this episode. We are a
Yeah,
Rams
yeah, yeah.
podcast, so where do you think he should land, or where would you pick him up? Let's say you couldn't get Puka, but you might be able. Where would you feel okay with picking up Devontae Adams?
I would say if you're picking your first flex, you don't want him as your wide receiver 1. I wouldn't want him as wide receiver 2. It's a little bit different for redraft. For dynasty, definitely. For your flex, go trade for him. He's old, but he's going to be really, really good touchdown wise. I'm very confident he's going to be the go-to guy Stafford looks for in the red zone. So I think it's going to be one of those things where Puka is going to have more yards most games, but he's going to eat up all those, I would say, empty fantasy point calories that Robinson was taking. Like a lot of people don't remember this. Robinson would have like 50 yards and 2 touchdowns some games, or like 20 yards and a touchdown. Like he would have these weird stat lines where it wasn't consistent enough for fantasy, but it was good enough to take away from the other wide receivers. Different story this year. Adams going to eat up a lot of that secondary targets. The only thing you have to worry about is like Tutu and some of these other guys getting large chunk down the field, touchdowns and stuff like that, taking away from some points from Devontae. So I would say 6th, 7th round, Devontae is worth taking a shot at. Dynasty, you don't
You think
want
he'll start
him.
if it's a redraft? Because I typically play in redrafts. Do you think that Devontae Adams will still be there at the 6th round?
That's what I would be comfortable taking him at. If you're taking him in the 4th or 5th, it's one of those things where if Stafford gets hurt, he's not going to be a good wide receiver too. If Stafford stays healthy, you're playing with fire because he's going to be inconsistent. Where I don't think he's going to have he's going to have large yardage games. I would say maybe 2 or 3 times in like 70 plus throughout the season. I would be surprised. You're talking about like a top 5 offense. If we can have Puka and Devontae both having 80 plus yards a game and a touchdown or more per game, it could happen. Hey, we both would be very happy with that, Zach. But that's the type of season you're talking about. Higgins level wide receiver 2 production in order to make Devontae fantasy relevant in like rounds 3 to 4 in redraft. For me, at least. Other people are, way more. I'm more risk averse when it comes to fantasy typically. So,
Speaking of risk adverse, what about Stafford? Where would you take a Stafford? Would he be your backup?
ooh,
I'm typically a backup. I usually always have Stafford as my backup. He's usually might not always be my number one, but if he goes on a hot streak, I may throw him in, especially if my number one QB, maybe he's on a bye or something like that. Like, or are we playing with fire? We should just, we want him to be elite, and we don't want to mess with that juju in our fantasy.
throwers, pure passing quarterbacks. I always try to tell this to people who are unfamiliar with fantasy. Pure passing quarterbacks, it's so hard for them to be fantasy relevant in most formats. If you're talking about top 10, that has to be a top 10 offense for them to be fantasy relevant. And then you talk about passing quarterbacks typically have a lot of consistency issues because they're more touchdown driven versus having that buffer of the rushing yardage. And as we know, Stafford isn't as spry as he used to be and can't he can't get in the gears every so often. But I would say as a backup, you have to be pretty desperate, but I would say he's more of a waiver wire guy, a flyer pickup. If you need, I would trust Stafford, especially against bad teams. If your quarterback's on a bye and your other
That's typically
guys
what
hurt.
I do. That's typically what
If
I like
he's
to
hurt,
do.
I would pick him up, put him in there, and he'll get you 15 points more times than not. And you're happy if he gets you more, right? You're not expecting much. I would not have him as my QB1, not in a million years. There is a chance that if we're top 10, top 5, that Stafford could possibly end up being a like 8 or 9 like ranked fantasy option.
Mm-hmm.
Those seasons are so rare by those passing QBs. You can even see it with Mahomes. Like, it's very volatile, and Mahomes has more rushing upside than Stafford.
Right.
So hopefully that kind of answers your question.
No, it does. I think it's going to help our listeners out because, again, the next couple of weeks, that's when we're going to get our fantasy going on. Do we still need any openings for our ECR fantasy league? I don't even know. Am I even on the fantasy league anymore? You probably kicked me off.
No, you're in our redraft league. I do not believe you joined the dynasty league before it filled up. Okay. So you're in one of our leagues, Zach, which you did get second in that league. So you got to go for gold. You got to go all out this year.
I got second, and I didn't even play like the first 4 weeks. I don't even know if I drafted. I think this was set on auto drafted. I auto drafted the entire time. I don't even think I played for like the first 3 or 4 weeks. Forgot that I played in that league. I got other fantasy leagues that I play in, so I'm not a fantasy newbie. I have come in first and second and third place multiple times throughout my career and fantasy. But I just totally spaced it, and I came in second. So kudos to me there. Awesome. Well, we have had a great turnout on this episode of the East Coast Rams podcast. We've had so many people come in and watch us live on X and on YouTube. So that's awesome. If you are new to the channel, please make sure you subscribe, youtube.com/@EastCoastRams. Subscribe to our channel. It really helps boost us up in the rankings, allow us to do some more fun things down the road. And if you don't know us, we're the East Coast Rams. Whether you're a fan on the East Coast or a fan on the West Coast, we are Ramley here. And we are just so excited that we get to do this each and every week through the season, once a month in the off season, depending on how spicy the news gets. And I'm just grateful to be with my partner, the yang to my yin, Ashton. Not too much of a spicy episode between us two, but it still had a lot of great content and focused on some really great issues.
No, I really love doing this, and I hope you guys see, like, we've been doing this for 4 years now, 4 or 5 years. It I hope you guys can just see the passion we have for the team. We try to be informative, and we just try to have a good conversation. Everyone has those things where we want to just express and talk about the team and go through the ups and the downs. And it's been a blast doing it with you. Thank you to everyone who's listened, who's followed us, and who's been in chat. Payo, thank you again. Really love you. And, just horns up for the season. Excited. I think we have a good chance of winning Lombardi. And Zach, man, they 2 in 4 years. Not bad. Not bad for the podcast if it happens.
Yeah, it'd be great.
I say so.
It would be great. We started this run, winning a Super Bowl. We'll see how our luck can continue. So if you guys have feedback for us, please reach out to us. We're on X. That's where you primarily will find both of us, at RamFanAshton1, at Zach Mayer for me. You can find us on X or find us on our East Coast Rams X account at East Coast Rams. You can find us on Threads, Instagram at East Coast Rams Pod, and then you can search for us on Blue Sky as well. Make sure if you're on all of those platforms, follow us everywhere, because we got content going on each one of those platforms differently. So really, really excited that we get to do this with everybody else. So I think that's going to wrap it up. Don't know. Ashton is our usual live watching the game live with y'all. Don't know if he's going to do it again. We'll see. That's why you subscribe. That's why you hit that notification bell, so when Ashton goes live to watch the preseason games with you all. Ashton, anything else before we wrap it up?
I mean, if you love watching me squint to try to see which player caught what ball and why the refs are taking a preseason game so seriously, and me questioning why I'm watching a preseason game, definitely tune in. It's been a lot of fun doing this stream. So it's a lot of work, but I love it. I love this team. And like I said, going to be a good season.
Yeah, it's going to be great. It's going to be a great season. If you just tuned in towards the later half, make sure you go back and watch our first half where we talk about Stafford, talk about the back situation, that he's back in practice, things like that. But until next time, we will preview the next. We will talk about the what happened in the next preseason game next week, and hopefully we will have some special guests on. So with that, we will see you guys next time. Whose house? Rams' house.